Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Robert H. Wild True Crime Show. We will do the customary can chat, tell me if they can see and hear me, please, before we adventure on in today's stream. We've got a few things for you this evening. Yep, right, we're all working, right. So what I want to begin with, Ditch knows this already, but for everybody else, we are very lucky to be having a stream this evening. Because quite close to now, earlier this evening, I opened the front door to get a parcel in. Unfortunately, from out of nowhere, Polly the cat rocketed out of the front door into the area at the front of this house. And I then spent 20 minutes in the dark chasing after her, trying to get her in. She is now safely in, acting as if nothing has happened. But I have had a small heart attack because the front does have a road. You know, I don't live on a country estate. There is a road. And I'm not entirely sure how Polly is with cars because I don't know Polly's history. So... but she went right out. We're not buying her treats tomorrow. Yeah, she's on the naughty step. She is most definitely on the naughty step. The speed, the silence and the speed. She wasn't even, because Ditch was like, oh, you shouldn't open the door when she's in the hall. She wasn't. She was upstairs. She rocketed down. She had one goal, and it was happening. And it did happen. And now I have a small problem. I may need to get some sort of second door in the hallway and build a sort of poly airlock, if only for my own health. Right, we've got a few things tonight. It's been a while since we've done anything sort of egregiously awful. So we're starting with one of those. Sorry. Then we've got a story where there will be a poll at the end. Yes, there is a test. Steve says, an airlock, you say, Mr. Bond? Yes. Cucumber sandwich. Cut your front door in half like a stable door. Yeah, that might be a good idea. That's the best idea. A ditch with a drawbridge. Now she can jump, can't she? She can jump, that won't work. I press it to the cucumber doors. We've got a couple of breaking news stories which we'll discuss. So yeah, it should be an interesting evening. I do apologise for the somewhat unpleasant nature of aspects of the first story. Postmen were not enjoying it. That's true. I have a lot of postmen collecting parcels as I sell things off. So the postman would not like the moat. On the other hand, the postman doesn't mean I have to open the door, which is now getting a bit difficult. So Ditch is actually coming round tomorrow. If you're stood at the front door, Ditch, for like 5 minutes and it's not opening, you'll know it's because I'm trying to herd my cat away. In fact, when you turn up, get one of those baseball things, like the people that catch the ball. Be like that, ready to catch the cat. Can you put Polly on a lead? No, I'm sure you can imagine what would happen if I attempted to put any sort of collar on Polly. I would have a very unhappy cat and I would no longer be able to type, which is quite necessary for my job prospects. So I'd like to keep on my fingers at this point. Yeah, I've got a friend who's tried to put cat harnesses on her cats, and the cat has never been happy about it. None of the cats have ever been happy about having the harness on. Yeah. Yeah, she may see you ditch and run away, and that'd be very handy. I'm just going to cough. Sorry about that. Ditch says Polly still doesn't like me. Apparently, cats don't like being taken to the vet. She'll warm to you, Ditch. She'll warm to you. Thelonious says, should I try putting all of your cats on harnesses? There aren't enough hours in the day, I don't think, Thelonious, for you to try and put them all in harnesses, because once you finish that, it will be midnight. Also, I imagine once the other 26 have seen what happened to the first one, they will become invisible. Right, let's get into some true crime. So there is a bit of a content warning on this. This one does get a bit gruesome. Again, there's no visual imagery part of the gruesomeness. Now I'm going to tie a bungee cord to Polly. Yeah. The problem now, on the plus side, yes, that would stop her getting outside. On the downside, there is 100% chance she would end up pinging herself very badly into something when she gets pulled back. So that would work once, and then it would be very bad. The speed she went out to would you like to adopt a 13-year-old cat who's quite old and doesn't move fast? I've been lied to. I have a cat that can move exceptionally quickly when they want to run out the front door where they're not allowed. Right, now, I'm sure you've all heard of the legend of Sweeney Todd. We're not doing Sweeney Todd, don't get excited. But the essential legend of Sweeney Todd is that there was somebody in London who murdered people, and then they got turned into the pies. And of course, Sweeney Todd doesn't exist. It's a story. But don't worry, I found one. So yeah, we're doing essentially a Canadian Sweeney Todd story. So that's the content warning. You know where this is going, right? If you don't want to if you don't want to listen about that, this is perhaps not going to be the most fun 45 minutes you'll have. Anyway, so we are going to discuss medical students. There are no medical students in the whole of today's stream, but I have been working today on my Jack the Ripper book, so of course medical students do turn up quite regularly. It's quite surprising how many insane medical students there were in London during the time of Jack the Ripper. I say surprising, I don't actually know what the general proportion of insane medical students there is now. Maybe there are always quite a few insane medical students. No offence to medical students. I don't know, but quite a few do pop up. They're all proven not to be Jack the Ripper. I should point out, Jack the Ripper, as far as anybody knows, was not an insane medical student. But they certainly looked at quite a few. Right, so now I've offended the medical student community. Let's move on into... We're going to be doing Robert Pickton and the Piggy Palace. Yes. Sounds like it should be a children's cartoon or a merry-go-round. It's not. Steve, thank you, Steve, for gigantifying the emote, which you all think looks really cute and fun, and I think looks like, when are we going out the front again? Thank you for running after me out the front. I'm going to be charging at you all the time. Peppa Pig, yeah, this is definitely one for people that can't stand Peppa Pig. Obviously, as I have nephews and nieces, I've watched a lot of Peppa Pig. It's actually the cat Illuminati gif, yeah. The question is, so Didge raised the interesting question, is she now going to be satisfied that she's had a bit of a wander round, or is she going to want to do this all the time? And I have a sneaking feeling I know which one of those it's going to be. And it's not going to be the one that makes my life easier. But she is in safe, acting as she does, like she's not done anything wrong. Right, so Robert Pickton, it's interesting because you've probably not heard of, no offence, but you've probably not heard of Robert Pickton. Oh, I've met some sort of goal. I've met some sort of... Oh, yes, my bits goal of 1,000 was completed. Thank you very much, everybody. Well, that's cool. I'm going to pretend I set that. And I know what I'm doing. Anyway, as you've probably not heard of her, she does want it all the time. I've got a Titsy Ginger Nut that does the same thing. Yeah, I'm doomed, aren't I? I'm now doomed. She's seen the world. She's seen what's out there. Thank you very much, Steve, for the 100 bits. That made a weird noise. It's cool, but a bit weird. Didn't realise. Oh, we've got thank you, Ditch, for gifting a 3 months of tier 1 for Thelonious Monk. That's brilliant, Ditch. Thanks so much. And that has started a hype train. Thank you, everybody. Oh yeah, we have a new emote. Steve suggested we have an emote of me smiling evilly, so now we have it. Yeah, I'll take feedback on that one. Thank you very much for the 100 bits, Steve. Not really sure at what point in the stream you're going to want to use that emote, but we shall see. Right, so you may not have heard of Robert Pickton, which is a bit weird because he is a very, very prolific serial killer. But because he's Canadian, he kind of has got... Having seen that emote, I'm having second thoughts about coming over tomorrow. He's sort of flown under the radar. So Robert Pickton was the biggest serial killer investigation in Canadian history to that date. He still may be the biggest. I'm not entirely sure. The forensics that they found flooded all the laboratories in Canada to find tiny traces of DNA. And we're talking about tiny, tiny traces, stains, getting the DNA off stains to show that people were there. Why am I talking about fragments of DNA? Well, Robert Pickton owned both Piggy Palace and a meat rendering plant. Yes. Pickton killed for years, targeting drug users and prostitutes, and some of them ended up as pork products. So, Sweeney Todd. Thank you, Ditch Boy. Thank you, Ditch Boy, for an amazing sub bomb. Subs go out to Vic Bang. Interesting. Catwall 24, Lee Burgess 72, Cosmic Code 6669, and Turkish Beer. Turkish Beer. That sounds like an interesting person. So that's excellent. Thank you very much. Right, so now I have been listening to feedback, and quite a lot of the feedback I get on YouTube is, yeah, you talk about these people, but I'd kind of like to know what they look like. So, meet Robert Pickton. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, that photo has definitely been picked because he's a lunatic, right? It's not doing him any favours, but this isn't the one with the poll where we're going to be choosing if somebody did it or not. So he definitely did it, and that is Robert Pickton. So Robert Pickton was born October 24th, 1949, in Port. I apologise to the Canadians. Port Coquitlam in British Columbia. Steve says he looks like the sixth member of Genesis. Yeah. His parents were Leonard Pickton and Louise Arnold, and they ran a pig farm. Robert had a sister. Is that a skullet? Yes. It's a very strange haircut, isn't it? It is a very strange haircut. It's like, I am going bald, but I still want a lot of hair. I feel like this is, as a general rule, anyone with that haircut is probably worth avoiding for your own safety. Not to be judgmental, but it's certainly a hot take. A relative of Hannibal, yeah. So Robert had a sister, but she was sent away from the farm as it was deemed an unsuitable place for a girl. Which, although massively sexist, probably saved her from an exceptionally horrible life, as we're about to find out. Robert and his brother David were forced to work long hours on the farm from a very young age. Oh, Ditch has banged out another sub bomb. So we've got subs to T-Gun, Janosch, Lesser Grey, Loto, and Dark Angel Alpha. And this is actually, we've completed level 3, and this is the longest hype train I have ever had. So that's brilliant. Thank you, everybody. That's superb. Thank you all. Yes, he was put on the farm from a very young age. Yeah, I thought we might as well push it. Yeah, thanks, Dick. That's great. So his parents weren't really concerned with the children. They were more concerned with the farm. So they were sent to school stinking of pig manure in dirty clothes. They were both called Stinky Piggy by their classmates. I'm sure we can imagine why. When he was 12, Robert started looking after a calf as a pet. But one day he came home to find it had been slaughtered in a barn. Formative influence. Thank you, Steve, for another 100 bits. Robert did very badly at school, perhaps because he had to work on a pig farm for hours and hours and hours. In 1963, he dropped out and became a meat cutter. 7 years after this, he moved full-time into farm work. He would also buy cars and strip them for parts. So we essentially have a man who is massively overworked by his parents and completely used to slaughtering animals. However, in 1978 and 1979, both his parents died. Robert and his siblings sold much of the land for $5 million Canadian dollars. People who saw the land said it was in a curious state, threatening and very scary. Ditch says none of tonight's tips or bits will be going toward treats for Polly because she's been a naughty girl. Yes, they'll be going towards buying me something to stop me having a heart attack. when I realise she's run out into a dark night in the front. She's not come in. Perhaps she knows she's in shame at the moment. So by this point, Robert, who I will hereafter refer to as Pickton, because it's weird saying my own name, was deeply, deeply maladjusted. Right? This was known to everybody. What was coming next wasn't known, but it was clear he was difficult to act with. He acted bizarrely. And he continues to act bizarrely because, having now had a large sum of money, he and his brother decided on a major change of life focus. They founded an official non-profit charity called the Piggy Palace Good Times Society. They adopted an old farm building and turned it into an infamous place for clubbing, dancing and partying. The Piggy Palace became infamous for wild raves filled with sex workers, Hell's Angels and more. The government were not impressed that a building registered for agriculture was now used for, let's just say, recreation. Ditch nails what's about to happen in this story with not-for-profit body disposal. Yes, that's coming. So the state tried to sort of sue them because they'd taken an agricultural building and turned it into a nightclub. And the Piggy Palace caused chaos. After one last blowout, a 1998 New Year's Eve party, the police were given legal powers to arrest anyone who went to the party. The non-profit status was removed and the charity was disbanded. Nonetheless, as you've guessed, because this is a true crime stream, behind the parties there was a bit of a darkness. On March 23rd, 1997, Pickton was charged with attempted murder after he'd attacked a prostitute he took back to the farm. Thank you, Seribot, for leaping in there. The prostitute took back to the farm. She was Wendy Eistetter, and she explained he'd handcuffed her, but she'd managed to escape. In the process, she'd been stabbed, but she'd managed to get the knife and stab Pickton. The murder charge was stayed in 1998 because prosecutors felt the victim's struggles with drugs meant they couldn't secure a prosecution. So they couldn't secure a conviction. Thank you very much. The hype train is finished. 60% to level 4. Brilliant. That's brilliant. Meanwhile, David Pickton was convicted of sexual assault and given 30 days probation. The victim had been attacked on the farm and fled. Now, this, it turns out, was a major opportunity to stop a serial killer in the middle of one of the largest and most prolonged campaigns in Canadian history. If this had been prosecuted, if he'd been convicted, perhaps 14, if not more, women would have survived. Much later. Oh, hello, Foxy. Foxy is raiding. Right, we'll pause here and we'll do some shout-outs. Foxy is a absolutely brilliant variety streamer. She streams games, singing, ghosts, and she is having a subathon on Saturday at midday. So if you like any of those things, do go and see her. I have to ask Foxy, I had to bow out and start this while you were still doing the trial. Have you had any luck? Please let me know. Also, while we're here, Steve Forward, who is in the chat, is an excellent dual streamer. He streams both classic rock guitar, of which he's amazing, and he now also streams gaming. Oh, Foxy says no, we'll be watching a YouTube video. I won't mention that again. Yeah, I think that's everyone so far. So, yep, thanks for shouting out Steve for gaming. Steve's been playing a lot of Tomb Raider, reminding me why I don't play Tomb Raider, because I'm fantastically rubbish at jumping, and there's a lot of jumping in Tomb Raider. There ought to be some sort of medical word for having a complete inability to do jumping in a game. If you've got any suggestions, put them in the chat. So when much later, when Pickton had been convicted, Crown spokesman Neil Mackenzie said of the decision not to prosecute this killing, the Crown makes decisions based on files on the strength of available evidence. I'm satisfied that an appropriate assessment was made on the strength of the file in 1997. To which we can only reply, well, you didn't try very hard, did you? Anyway, that's enough complaining about some missteps from the police. So let's move on, because as I've hinted enough, that assault was not an isolated incident. We now move with our story with Robert Pickton. Now pauses and we move to Vancouver, which is a short drive away. I've got to tell you, so I've got to let Foxy know. Short while ago, Foxy, I opened my front door to get a parcel, and Polly zoomed out like a furry Usain Bolt. And if you want to laugh, just imagine me chasing a cat around in the dark for 20 minutes. I should point out I didn't actually manage to catch her. Oh wow, Steggy Music is in. Steggy is an absolutely amazing musician. He does acoustic, and he's just beautiful. He's got his originals. He does covers. Please, if you love chilling out to acoustic music, please go and check out Steggy. He's great. I'm good. Steggy. Steggy. I'm good. As I've just explained, I wasn't good about an hour ago when I was chasing my cat around. But fortunately, Tom Hansen Live is in. Thank you for the sub, Tom. I hope you're doing well. Tom is an amazing drum streamer, an amazing chap. I hope everything's going well for you and your family. So we moved to Vancouver. Vancouver in this era, a whirlwind of drugs, HIV and collapsing social support had left an entire district as a no-go area, filled with criminals as well as prostitutes who plied their trade to survive. And women started to go missing. And women continued to go missing. A large period passed where nobody really realised what was happening. There were no bodies. It could take weeks, even months, before these struggling women were even identified as missing, and that information got to the police. But as the months ticked by, ever more women who struggled in poverty would just not be around anymore, and nobody really knew where they'd gone. Had they gone to find a future in another city? Were they overdosed in a room somewhere? In reality, Pickman had started a campaign of murder. He was picking them up, taking them back to the farm and killing them, and then rendering them in his factory, possibly turning them into food which was eaten at the parties. Yes, I said this was a grim one. It is a real Sweeney Todd story. This is the real. Sweeney Todd's not real, but this is. Teague, right. I had to post a Facebook community post in my town after being seen on multiple Ring doorbells in my dressing gown looking under cars for my cat at 2 a.m. Yes, I feel your pain, Tegan. I feel your pain. Oh, they're mad. Oh, cats. Oh. We love them. They look at you with their little faces and you have to forgive them. You have to forgive them, even though really you need to lie down at that point. Fortunately, somebody, not the police, but somebody was noticing that women were going missing. It's September 1998. A group for the support of native Canadian women sent the police a dossier listing women they said had been murdered. The police looked at it and, to their credit, did pay some attention. They rejected some names as known overdoses. They found others that were alive and had left the area. Still, there remained a core of women who had vanished, and Detective Dave Dixon launched an official inquiry. This became a task force into a mass disappearance of women. They started a large search, definitely more trouble than there were. Okay, so, in that case, right, C1, 2 parts to that. 1, I do keep VODs on YouTube. 2, I haven't done the Ripper series yet. I am in the process of writing it. I'm writing a full textbook on the subject, which will become a series of streams, which will go onto YouTube. So that's all coming, but yes, all the VODs. So, if you ever want to watch any of this again, all the VODs are on YouTube. I also do a special true crime short series. These aren't actually clips from this. These are custom written 60-second summaries of various crimes. That's a bit different. I'm also going to be launching more traditional YouTube documentaries. So stuff we do here and we chat. I will be doing a flat recorded I'm going to say documentary, which will have more. I'm getting more confident with the imagery, so there will be more imagery and things like that put in. But it's all going to be stuff we've already. If you're a regular viewer here, you'll have seen them already. It's fascinating to me to do these stories on a stream and listen to everything you say, and then some of those will be turned into normal. I'm saying normal for YouTube, that normal style of video. So there's a 3-pronged approach. Yeah. But no, don't worry. See, when I start doing the Jack the Ripper series, you will be sick of me mentioning it. But yeah, work's going really well. I've got I'm working my way through. I mean, I think I've said before, this is all Jack the Ripper books. I've got, for the average Jack the Ripper enthusiast, that's probably a moderate collection. There's people with everything, but you don't need everything, because some of it's absolutely mad nonsense. So yeah, but Foxy's putting the Polly pictures in. Thanks. We'll do another one, which is just an empty door. So yeah, we're really trying hard to do it as accurate as possible. I will tell you now that the Jack the Ripper book and series is not going to claim to have solved anything. It's not going to claim to know who did it. It is not going to advance a chief suspect. My whole approach to the Jack the Ripper mystery is basically that nobody actually knows for sure, and anybody that says they do know for sure is too overconfident. So, but we will go through potentials. Oh, Tom Hansen Live says that's about the size of my Tolkien collection. That warms my heart, Tom. I do love Tolkien. In fact, there's a series. There's a series. What am I trying to say? They're republishing most of the books in a new style and series, and I aim to get that one when I secure the old finances a bit. I will be picking up this new one. Oh, I'm pleased to, Arthuronius. Yeah. I'm really putting serious time and effort into getting this right. I mean, I could do it tomorrow, but I wouldn't be happy with it. I wouldn't be happy. It's the way I approach my history books. I don't just sort of write them quickly. I really try and get it right, especially with something like Jack the Ripper. You've really got to put the hours in. Oh, Ditch said your Twitch collection is good. Did you miss anything important? You mostly missed me talking about the ongoing Jack the Ripper project. We've not captured Robert Pickton yet, so no, everything's fine. Also, it was just also me talking about the cat again, because I'm deeply emotionally scarred. Do you know what somebody said to me yesterday? Somebody came round yesterday, a friend of mine, and they watched me looking after the cat, and they said to me, "Oh, it's a good thing you didn't have any kids, you'd go insane." So I don't know whether that means I'm a bit overprotective of the cat. But I suspect children would be easier to catch when they run out the front door at 10 a.m. in the dark, 10 p.m. in the dark. Anyway, so the police did a large search through every missing Vancouver woman since 1970, and they managed to narrow it down to one seemingly connected thread. At this point, 16 prostitutes from a rough area seemed to all be connected. This would eventually become 54 women taken between 1983 and 2001. As long as they were your children, not committing true crimes. Yes, obviously I would only be running after and capturing my own children. I do not recommend chasing after and capturing other people's children. That's a no-no. Sadly, we actually have words from one of the victims. The women in this area knew that they were disappearing and that they were being taken, but of course they had no opportunity to escape the poverty and addictions they lived in. In 1995, a prostitute called Sarah DeVries wrote in her diary, "Am I next? Is he watching me now, stalking me like a predator on its prey, waiting for some perfect spot, time, or my stupid mistake? How does one choose a victim? Good question. If I knew that, I would never get snuffed." Pickton killed her in 1998. Thank you, Krugi, for the follow. Very kind of you. This season's Panto will feature G-Man in the musical Funtime show Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Yes, I'll be the car. Yeah, I also don't endorse chasing other people's cats. Leave. It's funny actually. I'm in one of these community Facebook groups. Won't dox myself this time. And there's always people going, "Could people stop feeding my cat? My cat's getting fat because you keep feeding my cat. It's not your cat." And you just think, yeah, it's a cat. It's chasing someone else, hasn't it? It's fine. It's worked out to get 8 meals. Anyway, so the police had a bit of a problem, and part of that problem was the other police. It took a while for the idea of a serial killer to be invented. Inspector Kim Rosmo was so adamant he had discovered a serial killer by his brilliant geographic profiling that he resigned when superiors not only rejected his conclusions but demoted him. The press was told, "We are in no way saying there was a serial killer out there." The investigators faced other issues. They had no bodies, no crime scenes, no forensic evidence, often no date of a disappearance. Prostitutes were often reluctant to testify to the police because the police kept trying to lock them up. They faced an almost impossible task. What they did do was take DNA from the relatives of the missing in case they found anything to match, and trawl through every hospital, rehab unit, and anywhere else these women might be alive. The fate of some women were found. Some were alive, but elsewhere. Some had died due to drugs or AIDS. But as they were searching, more and more women kept going missing. Police followed up every violent male in the area, trying to find some connection. Ditchter said, "You need to invent the cat treadmill." No, you can get cat wheels, like hamster wheels. You can get like 5-foot tall ones for cats, and they just sort of. I haven't got one because we all know what would happen. It would get ignored. And the cardboard box it came in would be adored. So we're not having a cat wheel. But I have seen videos where people have managed to get their cats on their cat wheel. Once again, I was told this is a very old cat that's not really got much life. And the good news is that was wrong. She's got an awful lot of life. Most of it spent trying to charge into things you shouldn't do. Yeah. Ditches just mentioned MTV. Does MTV still exist? I stopped watching MTV when they stopped showing music videos and just started showing a series of TV shows. Yeah, I know that's how they work in gyms, yeah. I guess MTV's still going, but it stopped doing its basic function years ago. Oh, now we have YouTube, don't we? Do music channels exist, or do people just put YouTube on? In 1998, one lead led the investigators to the Pictons. Finally, you may be thinking, finally. Yeah, prepare to be disappointed. Bill Hiscox felt he'd had a lucky escape after being widowed. He'd fallen into drink and drugs, but his foster sister got him a job with her then boyfriend. Yes, Hiscox started working for Robert Pickton at the remaining farmland. Hiscox was deeply suspicious of what he found. He called it a creepy-looking place. A 600-pound pig ran wild as a guard, and he said, "I never saw a pig like that. It would chase you and bite at you." He went to the police. He said, "All the girls that are missing and all the purses and IDs, they're all in his trailer and stuff." So police searched the farm, but they didn't find anything. They didn't find any bodies. So he was put under surveillance for 3 days, and then they gave up. They thought about sending some undercover officers, but they didn't. There was simply no evidence as far as they were concerned, and nothing more was done, and Pickton continued to murder women. An informant then came forward to say a friend, Lynn Ellenson, had indeed seen Pickton skinning a woman he'd hung on a meat hook. But Lynn refused to talk to authorities, and a new search of the farm was rejected. Lynn had seen this, but she was too busy blackmailing Pickton to cooperate with the police. And more people kept dying. Detective Constable Laurie Machena. My notes. Detcon, that's not a name. Constable Laurie Machena was the person who received the tip and later spoke about the vast problems they faced. They were convinced Pickton was a potential serial killer and the place needed searching. But the farm was in the jurisdiction of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, who had precisely the opposite mindset. Shenher became increasingly physically ill from the frustration. They were quoted as saying, "I've asked myself many times, could I have just physically gone to the farm and tried to execute a search warrant? And the answer really is no, it was not my jurisdiction. Somebody higher in the force, at a very senior level, should have had words with the others." So firstly, I'm not sure blackmailing a person you've seen skinning on a meat hook is a good idea. Yes, this whole story is very interesting because you have this person who murders dozens of women, but he doesn't actually murder the person blackmailing him. However, we will get back to that because he did try and have her murdered, but he didn't do it himself. I suspect the answer to this is that Pickton was aware that the people he was murdering were flying so far under the radar that if he did actually kill somebody that the police might actually, to use the colloquial, give a shit about, it would be a threat to him, and that's why it didn't happen. Ditch has also said, according to a YouTube video, saw cats like watching movies, particularly Benedict Cumberbatch. I'm I'm open to suggestions as to I mean, I'm not saying Benedict Cumberbatch is in any way not watchable. He's brilliant. I'm not sure what about him particularly appeals to cats. Interesting choice. Is it time to put Sherlock on in the lounge telly for Polly? So, public consciousness, however, caught up and became convinced there was a serial killer. Missing women were reported faster, but they began going missing faster as well. The killer was speeding up. And the inquiry became the largest serial killer inquiry in history. A major push for this inquiry to be advanced came from reporters. These reporters realised there was a serial killer perhaps before the police did, but they were talking to victims' families, and in one notable case created a documentary that was so impactful the police had to push extra resources. Shenher, who we met earlier, explains also ongoing frustration. What they did was pull in as many sex offenders and predators that they were aware of in the province and put together a list of 100 men, but they did not rank them in priority. So despite having all our information about Pickton, he wasn't at number one in the suspect list. Now don't panic, we've done enough of the this man causing chaos. We will now double back. We will now get to the point where he actually gets caught and some justice gets meted out. So police had been working on a former drug addict as an informant. He had an agenda involving other crimes, but as part of his informing, he told the police Pickton had an illegal gun. He also told them about other conversations. He claimed Pickton had offered him money to make Lynn stop troubling him. He hadn't paid him to kill her, but it had been strongly implied he should go and kill her. The informant said that Pickton was always going on about how easy it was to kill drug addicts, as you just inject them with windscreen washer fluid. And police think it's a heroin overdose. So, on February 6th, 2002, police used a search warrant to try and find some illegal guns. And they arrested both brothers. At this point, they finally found something that would let them get a warrant to search for the property on behalf of the missing women. And search they did. The search was vast. They knocked down all but one building. They dug up the soil. Oh yeah, this is not a tip. Do not do that. Do not do that. They excavated the soil until the bedrock and took it away to search through. They spent 70 million Canadian dollars. At first, police believed the farm contained bodies which might have been buried or fed to the pigs. So forensic teams used soil sisters and conveyor belts. However, on March 10th, the local health authority had to issue a warning. They now believe Pickton had taken some of the bodies to his rendering plant, mixed them with pork, and turned them into food products that had been eaten at the parties and given to friends. This is the real Sweeney Todd. At the height of the case, 102 forensic anthropologists were sifting through the soil and their remains. Sometimes it was easy. They found some hands in a bucket or a head in a freezer. Often it was incredibly difficult. They were looking for fragments of humanity to get DNA from. They were looking at stains of blood and semen, or a rogue hair, or a piece of finger here, or a skull fragment there. Canada's forensic laboratories were overwhelmed. The entire nation of Canada ran out of anti-contamination suits. By mid-2004, the DNA of 30 of the missing women had been identified. In the end, they would identify DNA from 33 missing women. They would never recover anything that you would consider a body. But the police finally did something very clever. They put Pickton in a cell with an undercover officer. And Pickton began bragging. Now, I've actually seen the video recording of this. Um, so also 6 of them. Yeah. So I've actually seen the video recording this. I am not sure. I'm exploring what can and can't be shown on this. I don't think I think I probably can show the video footage because it is a Canadian government thing. But we're just being a bit cautious, so you've just got that man's happy. Is everybody still happy with having that man's face on? If anybody would like me to turn him off, right, at this point, do say, right, because, you know, it's got a bit grim, and he's still there. So turn him off, yeah, okay. Right, we'll turn, right, you don't have to keep looking at him, don't worry. So he actually told the undercover officer, yeah, he'd been rendering them in his plant, but he got sloppy, and that's how he got caught. He also said, "Let's have a last image of Jim McCann." Yeah. I should get a scene that's just a picture of Polly with me in a corner. Yeah, thanks, Steve. They're making me look not a great improvement on the serial killer, but never mind. He also said he'd killed 49 people and had wanted to make it 50. We're not really convinced it was. It was probably more, right? He expressed a desire to be bigger than the United States killers. It was at this point that Lynn Ellingson thought, "Oh, maybe I ought to go to the police." Thanks, Lynn. Thanks for your service. Anyway, as police combed through tens of thousands of pieces of evidence, there was anger among the public at what had happened, but this anger wasn't mostly directed at Pickton. It was considerably directed at the police. They wanted a full inquiry into why the police did not take this more seriously earlier. Anyway, this resulted in the Canadian government setting up the Missing Women Commission of Inquiry in 2010 to investigate, and in 2012 the police found, with the notable exceptions of officers, that the police had failed disadvantaged women because essentially too many of them did not care about drug addicts and prostitutes. Anyway, the trial began on January 30th, 2006. The judge considered the vast amount of evidence too much to do all the trials at once, so it was split into 2 groups, and he would be tried first for 6. On January 9th, 2007, the jury shocked the court by initially not finding him not guilty of 6 counts of first-degree murder, but they immediately found him guilty of 6 counts of secondary murder, and he was given the maximum punishment, life with no possibility of parole for 25 years, which I must point out is the same as if he'd been found guilty of first. The first degree, he got the maximum punishment under Canadian law. A long series of appeals followed, but Pickton's sentence was confirmed. With no possibility of extending the sentence, and having already spent over $100 million, the other 20 cases were dropped. So he was only convicted of 6. They did not try him. So ditch. So I'm not. No, that they said they didn't feel the police could adequately prove that these were all fully premeditated, planned killings. They felt they could only prove the second degree, that he did them. And part of this is the fact that yes, it's clear that he did kill them because the last DNA traces on the farm, but because of the way it had come together, there were no crime scenes. There was no bodies. There's no real suggestion of when and who or how. So because of what he did, there was a huge aspect of our understanding of this case missing. Nonetheless, he got the maximum sentence and he was in prison. Police continued to visit Pickton in prison, hoping he might reveal details of where the other women are or what happened, but he never did. In 2016, Pickton briefly self-published an autobiography. until Amazon realised and took it down. And we get to the reason why we're doing this case now. On May 19th, 2024, i.e. about 2 months ago, while he was still in prison, a fellow inmate speared him through the head with a broken broom handle, and he died. Yeah, ditch. I mean, exactly. It's not exactly spur of the moment when you end up in pies, is it? But it was felt. The defence was trying to say you have no proof that it was Robert or just Robert. There were other men on this farm, and all this sort of thing. So, however, the battle over Robert Pickton isn't over now. He's dead. A move to destroy the 14,000 pieces of evidence has been started because some feel it's not needed anymore. A coalition of victims' families have taken legal action to stop these. They want convictions. They want to know what happened in detail to their loved ones, and they believe that this evidence should be stored because there may be other developments in tech and the law which would change things. And that is the story of the Piggy Palace. Yeah. So what do we think about that? I will accept. Please don't do any more stories where people get eaten, as a request. But yeah, he did get off lightly. He got off very lightly. And again, if there's one thing, there's one actual serious point we're trying to make on these things, it's that people who are often regarded on the fringes of society, in poverty, in desperation, tend to get overlooked and tend to be the fertile ground for killers and abusers. I have to ask, is that coke or theatrical blood? Join me, a vampire, with my pint of AB blood. Well, just pause a bit while I get my let my voice calm. It is Pepsi. To be oh yeah, ditch remote. Yes, this now tell them what it is. Yeah, it's it's Pepsi. Don't worry, it's Pepsi. Now I'm going to tell you a story, right? I'm going to tell you a story. I like to go for a walk every day. I go into Costa, and when I leave Costa, I get an iced black Americano, right? So I've got a black coffee. Right? I walk around with an iced black coffee, and then I normally go into Tesco's, pick up tea and go home. Having done this for a few months, I went into Tesco's quite recently, and one of the staff in Tesco's goes to me, I have to ask, where here can you get an iced Coke? And I went, oh no, it's iced coffee. And they looked at me and they went, oh wow, that's much more adult. That's made you seem 10 years older. I mean, thank you, King Cobra, for resubscribing at Tier 1. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. I hope you are enjoying the stream. Did you give her your number? No, I didn't. But Steve says, G-Man would make a great Dracula. Imagine the snow, dark room, lightning, thunder, rain. In through the window he comes crashing in, dressed top to bottom in the usual Dracula garb. Then says, that's to be an easy way to enter the room now, doesn't there? Do give King Cobra a follow. They are a streamer. They are a great supporter of our streams. Thank you very much. Yes, as Ditch has pointed out, if I was a vampire, I would spend most of my time chasing my cat around. rather than, eating people. So we've got a few more things we're going to be doing tonight. So we have another story, and then we're going to be doing 2 breaking news. The next story is a shorter one, but there is a poll. Okay. Polly as a vampire cat would be so cute. Little cloak vampire teeth. She's got the teeth. So I'm going to ask you a question at the end of this, in a poll form. Okay. So this story is entitled Louis Van Schoor, serial killer or efficient security guard? Yes, Steve, the poll's going to be serial killer, yes or no, if that's all right, thanks. And I'm now going to describe the situation, and then I'll let you know when to pop the poll. I'm going to do this fairly. There is some other information that I will do once we've published the poll. If you wake up later with a sat on you, you're going to remember the vampire cat, though. Yeah. Okay, so during the 1980s, as South Africa's racist apartheid regime was in charge, Louis Van Schoor became a security guard. And guess what? This is Louis. Now, this is modern Louis. This photo is from the BBC. Thanks, BBC. His job was very simple. A network of businesses that had hired security from shops to schools and restaurants tended to have silent alarms. When someone broke in and triggered an alarm, Schoor would attend the site. Yes, it does make it look like he's got snake's eyes, doesn't it? He always preferred to operate alone and was armed with a 9mm handgun filled with hollow point ammunition. Previously he had been a police officer, so he knew how to use a gun. He had a gun because you never knew whether you'd find a child rifling through the bins or an armed group. Lethal force was perfectly legal under the law if somebody tried to resist his arrest or run away from it. Okay. The thing is, Schoor started to use lethal force rather a lot. In fact, in the 3 years he was a security guard from 1986 to 89, he killed at least 39 people, possibly 100. He claimed they were killed running away. He also freely claimed that he enjoyed his job. When he got a call, he would park a distance away from the building, take his shoes and socks off, and move barefoot in the dark, hunting the intruders by the smell of their adrenaline, which he loved doing. He said he feels no remorse. He acted completely within the law. Indeed, law enforcement were aware of what he was doing. He told them each time he'd killed somebody, he received their encouragement. They were so pleased for him, they frequently didn't collect any forensic evidence or even photograph the dead. They just rushed them into the States and marked graves. That is the perspective of Schoor and his supporters. However, when the apartheid regime fell, Schoor found himself arrested and on trial. All the people he'd killed had been black men and boys. Many had been boys. Most had been unarmed. Most were young, very young men looking for a few pennies of food. Some, prosecutors claimed, were actually innocent people he pulled in off the street. Survivors of his shootings gave witness statements. Many said he did a lot more than shoot people as they ran away. Many survivors claimed that Schoor shot them even as they stood with their hands up. Some say, one witness said, he asked them if they wanted to be shot or whether he should call the police. They said the police, and he said wrong answer and shot them. One 14-year-old boy who was caught says Schoor ordered him to stand against a wall, which he did. He was then shot several times. Schoor then picked him up, put him in a chair, and shot him again. He was known and feared among the black community simply for killing anyone and everyone he thought he legally could. His trial was huge with vast amounts of forensic evidence, despite the police often failing to take any. It became a battle between the old regime, whose structures were very much still in place, and the new. In the end, 32 killings were deemed justifiable homicides. He was only convicted of 7 murders. However, his time, the judge allowed his sentence to run concurrently, so he only served 12 years in prison, and then he was released. Schoor maintains everyone he killed was a criminal, and it's okay to enjoy your job. He said they needed a scapegoat, and they picked him. He's not going to apologise. I've no remorse. Many of the community at the time of his trial, many of the white community supported him. Many of them wore stickers saying "I love Louis" with bullet holes over a bleeding heart. Other people maintain he's a serial killer who killed men and boys for sport, who found himself in a racist system that gave him permission to murder people regularly. At least 39 killings in 3 years, maybe 100. He thinks it was at least 50. He doesn't really care to remember. And he was out after 12 years. So if we could pop the poll, please, Steve. I do have an extra factoid to tell you, but I feel that would prejudice the poll. So what do we feel? Is this man a serial killer? Or was he just an exceptionally efficient and perhaps slightly too keen security guard? So thank you for the poll. Right, well, we've got 15 viewers in, and 15 people have, 15 people have voted. We've had 16 votes for yes and 1 for no, so I'm going to go with that's pretty. But yes, Ditch says taking off his shoes to hunt them was what did it. Well, here's another fact, right, which I didn't want to put in because it would prejudice the poll. The BBC did a documentary on him. And when they went to see him, they discovered that recently he had had a heart attack and had to have both his legs amputated. However, he refused a general anaesthetic and asked only for an epidural because he wanted to see them saw his legs off. Not entirely sure we're dealing with the sanest of people here. He said he loved seeing his legs sawn off. It was very interesting. You could see them soaring through the back. Oh boy, we've got one. We've found one. So that's you can see why I didn't put that in earlier, because it does make the poll look a bit different, doesn't it? Right. Clearly a maniac. Anyway, ironically, his daughter has been sent to the same prison as he was in because she hired a hitman to murder her mother. Oh dear. bit of a problem. Right, we'll turn him off. Right, we've turned him off. That's enough. Right, we've now had 26 votes for yes and 1 for yeah. Not the most stable of families, not the most stable of men. Yeah. It looks like multiple voting is allowed. That's fine. People are spending their channel points or what have you. That's no problem with that. I should probably put some channel point things in, you know. Right. Well, I hope you found that interesting. We were now going to do 2 breaking news stories. Slightly different circumstances. She wasn't going to do it herself. Should have hired her dad. He's keen. Right. And now we're going to do a story with a happy ending. Jesus. Right, so. Was it? No. It was before his legs were cut off. King Cove wants everyone to know voted yes. Yeah. Right, so some good news, sort of. This week, a woman who served 43 years for murder has been released. Her conviction has been overturned. Sandra Hem was 20 years old when she was found guilty of stabbing to death a librarian called Patricia in Missouri in 1980, and she was given a life sentence. She is now 64, and she has been released from prison with the presentation of new evidence. She is believed to have been the longest known wrongful conviction of a woman in US history. So, what happened here? Well, what happened here? Yeah. So, Patricia Jensk was stabbed to death. Sadly, that definitely happened. There was no forensic evidence. There were no witnesses. There was no motive linking her to the crime. However, when she was interviewed by police, she was on massively powerful antipsychotic medication and a powerful sedative. She had been involuntarily committed to a psychiatric hospital. She had been receiving psychiatric treatment since she was 12. So the police interviewed her while she was essentially off her tits on powerful drugs. Her responses were monosyllabic. She basically did not understand what she was saying yes or no to, and the police managed to get her to confess to killing this woman. So they put her on trial and put her in prison. However, she's been let out because something else was discovered. At the same time as police were trying to pin this woman, this murder on this woman, they did have some evidence and some forensic evidence about a cop. The police knew that the truck of Michael Holman was seen in the area on the day of the murder. They knew that his alibi was false. They knew he had used the victim's credit card after her death, claiming he found it in a ditch. They also found a pair of her earrings in his home. None of this was disclosed to the defence team at the time, mentioned in court, and it was all completely covered up. That officer later went to prison for another crime and has now died. The judge, when presented with this evidence, says it's absolutely 100% so blatantly obvious that she didn't do it, and this bloke probably did do it. They've let her out. So yeah, she was completely fitted up by the police, protecting her own, ignoring massive amounts of evidence, and they essentially bullied a sick and drugged woman into confessing. One presumes there is going to be one hell of a lawsuit coming. There is good news, however. There's good news. She's been released from prison. Her father is clinging to life. He's receiving palliative care, and she was able to go and visit him immediately. So that is, well, it's probably the best ending we're going to get, because, yeah. So, bit of crime. And now we're gonna finish off with another news story. I grew up in Britain. I did not know about this story. Most of the cops involved would be long gone by now. Yep, they are. The man himself had been in prison and died. The people that covered up will be gone. They've all escaped punishment, and sadly, the taxpayers will pay for it. And it's not their fault, anyway. So this is an interesting story that I hadn't realised. I don't know if you... sadly, she's basically lost so many good years of her life. But hopefully she's able to enjoy what's left, and hopefully she has a lot left. In the 1950s in Britain, she's lost Actually, hang on, Ditch. If I remember correctly, let me just make sure I've got this right. Let me make sure I've got this right, because I don't like to get things wrong on this. I don't. Right, yeah, no. Fortunately, Ditch, although she was only 20 when she was put in prison, she had a daughter. That daughter is still alive and has a family of her own. So she was able to meet up with her sister, her daughter, and her granddaughter. So in a sense, it's not as big a family as it might have been, but there is still something there. Yeah. Okay, so in the 1950s, Rupert Murdoch, who is very much still around and influencing things, Rupert Murdoch had a deputy called Alec Mackay. Alec Mackay had a wife. And in 1956, Rupert Murdoch lent his Rolls Royce to the Mackay family, which turned out to be a very, very bad thing. Kidnappers had planned to kidnap Rupert Murdoch's wife Anna and demand £1 million in ransom. So they attacked the Rolls Royce. They instead took Mrs. Mackay. She was abducted on 29th of December 1969 and taken to Rook's farm. Sadly, Muriel Mackay was killed at Rook's farm when people realised she was not who she was meant to be. Although the people behind this are known, her body was never found. The reason I'm mentioning this is because there has just been a major search of the farm in order to try and find her body again. The last surviving murderer is now living in Trinidad, and he gave information about where she was allegedly buried. The family had been pressing very hard for the police to spend the money and follow this man's lead. They had wanted him to be brought in person so he could help guide things. The police thought that was a bit too much. This is the third search of the farm to find the body. Sadly, they didn't find the body. They did go and speak to him just as the family had gone to speak to him. It must be a weird feeling. It must be a weird feeling that you're so desperate to find the body of your family member that you are willing to fly and talk to the free killer of them. Weird, but difficult situation. However, the police have said his evidence was inconsistent and he kept getting details about the murder wrong. So maybe leading them on a silly goose chase there. The police said they went well beyond where he said, and they didn't find it. They spent the money's irrelevant, but they spent 160,000. He was lucky not to be put in the hole they dug looking for. Yes, exactly. I'm sure there are many people who, if they were flying out to meet their relative's murderer, would not just be going to talk about it nicely. I'm not encouraging. This is not condoning. I'm just human nature is such. You know what? People, it must be very hard to go and talk to someone, and I think a lot of people would do more than just talk. Again, I'm not encouraging that, but you know. So sadly, that is a breaking news. We're going to be doing. We're going to keep doing some breaking news updates. Obviously, these aren't as in depth because they are just where we are in the situation. So we've done 4 things tonight. We've done the Piggy Palace. I apologise. We've had a little bit of a discussion about whether this man was a serial killer or a security guard. Bad news, he was a serial killer. Yeah, Tish is like, next week, llama-based crimes. Do something happy. And then we've had a woman who was finally freed because the police were massively corrupt. And sadly, a bit of a search. Now, I've got a case I don't think we're going to do this case next week, but I have a case in mind which is a very important case with a very important point. And the last thing I want to do is turn this into some stream where I sit here and bang on about stuff. So we'll try and get the tone right, but there will be a very important story coming up. Now, why am I calling it an important story? I've had a number of comments about things I've said on this, chiefly when I say things like the entire legal system is screwed up and needs reforming. Some people have said that's a bit harsh. No, we're going to do a case that illustrates why it is, and people are not getting what they need from it. But perhaps next week we will do something a bit lighter. There is the Music in Crime stream coming. I can't promise you llama crime. I'm not sure what llama crime is other than being spat in the face by a llama when you're on holiday. But we shall see. So I hope you've enjoyed tonight. Clown crime. Now, I could probably do an entire stream on those weirdos that like to dress up as clowns and scare the hell out of people. In fact, that is genuinely a really good one to do. We could just cover several of the global clown cases, and obviously there's going to be lots of imagery for that I can put in. If anyone is I think it's coulrophobia. If anyone is afraid of clowns, put in chat now, because this is forming as a solid idea in my head. Right? If any of the regulars don't want that, now is the time to say that, or forever hold your peace. I shouldn't say forever hold your peace in a true crime stream, because it does imply you're going to get murdered. You don't mind clowns; it's just dolls. Okay, good. Please don't dress up as a clown. If anyone knows what the stats would be like on a fat old man painted as a clown doing a stream about clown crimes, now's the time to tell me. Steve can be trusted not to abuse evil clown Rob Jeffs. Yeah, if I dressed up as a clown, can you imagine? There'd be videos for days. Also, I was about to say, if I dressed up as a clown, it might be too light and funny and not appropriate. But I would clearly look like some sort of psycho mental clown, wouldn't I? So it's not going to be a problem. I quite like that. I do like that. Yeah. As long as you're not handing out to candy people passing by your window. King, I can't open the windows. The cat jumps out. Can't even open the door. Ditch boy, please don't do murders by small girls possessed as demons. Ditch, that's the Halloween stream. That's that. You know what's coming, Ditch. It's only. I think I saw. It was either yesterday or today. It's 100 days till Halloween. Get ready for the spooky stream. Oh, they creep you out. Okay, well, that is the point of a spooky stream. I mean, that's kind of the... Now, I do want to ditch. Ditch, you told me one of them. You told me one of the stories that I'm going to do. I'm going to do the real life Veronica. It's your fault. You didn't have to tell me. What am I supposed to do? No, I'll just ignore this brilliant story that Ditch told me. That'll be the only one. All right, that'll be the only small girls possessed by demon story. Because it's great and you told me about it. Thank you for being helpful. Thank you for being helpful. If anybody's wondering what I'm on about, there is... so this is a true crime stream where we try and do everything seriously, based on records and evidence and proof. Every so often we do the spooky stream where we ignore evidence and proof and just do spooky stories. For the Halloween stream, there is a crossover. There is a case in Spain where the official police records record spooky, random, weird, horrible things. This inspired the Spanish horror film on Netflix, Veronica, which Ditch and I enjoyed greatly. I think it's a great, fun movie. Ditch finds me using the word fun in connection with Veronica a bit troubling. But we will definitely be telling the real life, sort of, story of that on the spooky stream. Family, yeah, it's not going on the true crime stream because it's still, I'm not going to do a true crime stream and start talking about there was a demon, because there's not. But on the spooky stream, it's gold, it's perfect. And then we will riff from there. We hope. Well, yeah. Can you imagine if somebody did do a true crime stream where they adamantly did believe in the occult, and it was like, oh yeah, this is the demon of Zubu, and he made this man kill 8 people. I feel that's a story. That's a good horror story. That is, yeah. Should write that. As you know, I started my first published books are horror stories. So I've always got my eye on good material for a horror story. So yeah, investigating a true crime streamer who is adamant that these people are actually pushed on by demons is a brilliant idea. Yeah, Stephen Rockstar says, I'm sure there's one out there somewhere. Yeah, I kind of want to find them and watch them just for the lols, but I kind of also want to not to and just write some fiction about it, because that's the way I am. Yes, I'm not going to read that out due to so nobody can connect me with this, but yes, everyone in chat, I did know somebody. In fact, can I say this? Yes, in my life, I have encountered somebody that did not only thought that demons were real, but they had actually physically grappled with those demons. And let me tell you, that is a hell of a conversation to have with somebody when you didn't know they were going to do that. Yeah, so I think that's vague enough. I don't think I can... Yeah, no. So when it comes to people that think there are demons, I've met them, and I've met. What did he say? I think he said he fought a demon and saved the Virgin Mary in his bedroom, if I recall correctly. Like it's not burnt into my mind. So yeah, he was an interesting fellow. Yeah, we're leaving it there. That's obscure enough. We won't go any further. I've met some people. Well, we'll leave that there. Right, thank you everybody. I hope you've enjoyed tonight. I've enjoyed tonight. Thank you for letting me take last week off to attend a concert. Concert sort of gives the idea that you're in a slightly grand room. It was a good old fashioned gig. It was this small, dark, loud, sweaty, tight, packed room, listening to somebody banging out some tunes, and I haven't done that in quite a while. So that was good. But we're back doing this now. Thank you very much, Foxy. Thank you, Tom. Yes, no cat butts. Yeah. Polly realises that she might not want to turn up at the moment. Polly's probably sat in the hall going, I've got to get out. She might realise she's, I don't know, maybe she does. Maybe somewhere down there is a conscience going, he thinks I've been naughty. Thank you, Zep TV. Thank you. Glad you've enjoyed it. Right, I will now find our raid target. Let me see who's on. I don't have anybody lined up. If anyone does have suggestions, I normally go for something completely thematically different. The question is, can I remember who we have raided and who we haven't? Ah, yes! Right, I know exactly who we get. So, one of the things I like to do if I want to chill out is Mr. Horologist. He often sits and repairs and builds watches live on stream. It is just the most wonderfully calming, fascinating thing. Turns out tonight he's looking at a car, which Did should be pleased with. So he's actually working on a car. So that's not ideal because I really wanted to show you. I really wanted to show you him working on a watch because it's wonderful. So let me just think in my mind if we are going to do this, or whether we'll wait to see when he's got a watch. Because I don't imagine any of you are going to want to necessarily spend a long time. What's this? Oh, yeah, definitely. Right, this is better. Right, we'll leave Mr. Horologist until he does actual horology. Oh, sorry, C1, yeah. It's not that I'm not interested in cars. It's just that I know that his watch thing is so great, I think we might save it. So instead we're going to go to Texas Hula, who is currently turning wood, and he's making a bowl on a lathe. I really should find some actual just chatting streamers to raid, and I really should find if there are really any other true crime streamers. But I do like the idea of completely changing the vibe, especially when I've done a story about people getting eaten. So forgive me, but I will accept all comments on whether that's a good idea. So does this work? Yes, right. Thank you, everybody. It's been great seeing you. I hope you enjoy some quality woodwork. And I will see you this time, not this time, I'll see you at midnight Thursday next week, where we will hopefully be starting with clowns. If you know anybody that's scared of clowns, tell them there's a great stream you watch, but don't tell them that we're doing... Sorry, that's a bit evil. Bye.